following TBT interview with Luke Basham by James Irvine and Matt Burns was pre-recorded via the power of the internet. Audio discretion is advised with this interview. We hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dude and dudettes. I'm Matt Burns.
I'm James Irvine.
And this is TBT Interviews. And our guest today is none other than Luke Basham.
Welcome, sir. Welcome,
Thanks for having me.
It's always good to see you. I believe we've actually done an interview previously, haven't we?
Yeah, I think a few years ago now. I think.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
A certain promotion. I don't think we can name it anymore.
I think it's redundant now. It got made redundant.
Oh, okay. Well, but yeah, it's been a few years. I've had many injuries since then as well.
Oof. That you have, but I will say, each time you've had your injuries, you've always come back strong.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I broke the collarbone. Wrestling to an extent. And I was told by the doctor, "Oh, you need to have 4 months off." I think I was back within 3 weeks, which probably wasn't a good idea. But you know, this time though,
doctors, what do they know?
Well, that's the issue with the doctors these days. You don't know, do you? But yeah, this one was a big one. I think it was July 2019 now, which seems like, well, it is. It's 2 years, literally nearly 2 years away. And I ruptured my ACL, which was very painful. Ended up having 2 surgeries on it. Last March was the last one, which went really well. And since then, I've been trying to working harder in the gym, things like that, until they keep getting closed. But I'm dead excited about the future of wrestling, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was just about to try, move onto the topic of the the topic that we usually talk on the Burning Truth.
And that is
wrestling.
I just didn't want your awkward pauses anymore. Stop.
What?
Your awkward pauses, it's just like, it's just dead awkward. It's like kissing someone's baby and then caressing its head and looking into the mother's eyes at the same time, you know what I mean? It's just fucking weird. Just that awkward moment.
No, but one thing I will say is with the wrestling, with everything being on hold, how have you been keeping up though generally at the moment?
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with it quite a bit. I sat up and watched AEW Revolution the other night, which was actually a great show up until the ending.
All I'll say is no spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah, I won't tell you. Even though by the time this comes out, it'll be 2 weeks since the actual Revolution show.
Potentially.
But WWE, I still keep up with to an extent. I'm more of an NXT guy than I am like Raw and SmackDown. But
I think everybody is with NXT. I think the thing is with the Raw and SmackDown is that everybody just looks at them and just watches it for the sake of watching bigger stars.
Yeah, I just think now that it's getting to a point like 3 hours of Raw is just a waste.
Oh God, yeah.
You get into the last hour and it's just you're not invested in it whatsoever. Though I will say they did last week. They did really well. Is in the sense of when they had Miz drop the title because originally he was meant to face Bobby Lashley in the first hour. Then it was the second hour, and then it was literally the main event, which I thought was very clever because obviously a lot of fans would have wanted to see what the outcome was going to be. I was quite shocked on the outcome. I'm not going to lie.
I wasn't. I was absolutely fucking ecstatic.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I think this is one of Bobby Lashley's best pushes.
Yeah.
And I think, he looks great. Him and Roman, to me, at the moment, are like I wouldn't say on the same caliber with the push at the moment, but Bobby Lashley is definitely in there. And I think, the last couple of months he's looked really good, especially as part of the Hurt business. But I just felt like it was a waste of The Miz, who
Yeah.
I think The Miz is a great talent and he's so underused with WWE. And the only reason really that they have had Miz be champion is because they don't want Lashley pinning Drew McIntyre yet. That's the way I look at it anyway. So I imagine we're on for Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley possibly for WrestleMania. But
No, I'd agree with that, definitely. It just seems like it's. What made it so weird is when we were doing the predictions for Elimination Chamber, I just said it's the only time that would be perfect for The Miz where someone's at their weakest. But I thought to myself, with how WWE have been booking The Miz lately, they've been really sort of not relying on him as much, and with the whole Bad Bunny situation.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
This is one of the main reasons I don't watch it for stuff like that. It's just,
yeah.
I think, don't get me wrong, there are some. I think we saw it with Shaq on AEW.
God, yes, love it.
Day. We saw it with Shaq. Some celebrities who are invested in wrestling are good at it, and you can do the stories with them. I think another prime example is what WWE did a few years back with Stephen Amell.
Yeah.
Them opportunities for celebrities look great, but then they did this with Bad Bunny, and they're still doing it now, week in, week out, and it's just, I think they're ruining it to an extent. I know they're doing it probably to get extra looks on WWE with Bad Bunny's fans and things like that, but still, it's like the actual wrestling fans that are invested. It's tiresome, that sort of stuff now.
It is. It is very, very tiresome. Very tiresome.
I like how you mentioned Stephen Amell. The one thing I will say about him is he's got that TV show, hasn't he?
Yeah, I believe it's called Heels. Yeah, I've always been a massive Stephen Amell fan. I've loved him since Arrow. Those that know me know I'm a big comic book geek. So I do enjoy like the superhero films and things like that. So when I found out Stephen Amell was big into wrestling as well, he's done numerous matches. He's done WWE. He's done AEW. I think, didn't he do like a ladder match on a boat? Maybe.
I think he did one on a boat, and I think he's also done one for ROH.
Yes, I think that's the one. Was the Ring of Honor one with Christopher Daniels?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a brilliant match as well. That was. So I've always been quite invested in him. So now he's going on to do this Heels TV series, I think it is, and I believe like there's some appearances with, no surprise, obviously, with Cody, and some other guests. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. And I do appreciate that people like him as well will take the wrestling business seriously. So I don't think like when this TV series comes out, it's going to make wrestlers look a joke or anything like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. It's It's like that's one thing I actually brought up on I believe on a recent episode of The Burning Truth, where with Shaq I even said he's not above getting like water thrown in his face. He's not above making himself look a little bit bad or anything to help make it look as real or as authentic.
Yeah, I was really impressed, really, to be fair, with how he performed on the show. I thought the match was great. There were some bits from a wrestling standpoint, you look at it and you go, oh, but for someone who's coming into the business and having their first match, basically, I was very impressed, and I think now AEW would be stupid if they don't capitalise on Shaq being there with Big Show as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Don't you find it shocking though that the WWE missed out a chance on Shaq?
Yeah, absolutely. I think wasn't it like an Andre Giant Battle Royal or something like that? They had a big stand down, and then there was a moment where did one eliminate the other or something like that? I think Big Show eliminated him or something like that.
It was originally looking like Shaq was going to eliminate Big Show, but then Big Show turned it around with using the experience and got him out and put him over.
Yeah, it was like, and I thought, well, Shaq is quite well known. He's big money. He's obviously a big wrestling fan. He's obviously training as well. And they didn't do anything with it, did they? They didn't like anything at all. And when I saw, which was a big announcement the other week when Paul White had been signed to AEW, I thought, well, they've done that because they're going to do him and Shaq. I mean, they'd be stupid not to capitalise on it. I don't think we're going to get a match that we would have saw 5-6 years ago, whenever it was they did it, but we're still possibly going to see the match. I think WWE have missed out on so many opportunities. I was actually having this conversation with a friend the other day. Do you guys remember it was the 15th anniversary of SmackDown, and I think it was either at the end or in between it, there was a promo between The Rock and Triple H.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And this promo got so much buzz. And I mean, literally, it had millions of views. It was shared around. People were ecstatic. And then they didn't do anything with it. There was a big opportunity where at WrestleMania, they had The Rock come out. Stephanie slapped Rock, and Ronda Rousey was pulled out of the crowd. They could have done something there. They could have done a tag team match or anything like that with The Rock, built on it. But, I mean, preferably I'd have gone for The Rock and seen The Rock and Triple H. And I think it was such a massive opportunity they missed out on because the fans were dying to see it. I think two guys would have been preferably, I believe it's 2013 or 14, so it's 7 years ago now. Like two guys that were probably at a good age to finish off their last match in wrestling, and they wasted it. And it's like they didn't do anything with it. We never heard anything about it again.
Mm.
Well, when was the Twice in a Lifetime with The Rock and Cena?
That was, I remember right, I'm sure someone will probably correct me, around about 2014, maybe 2015.
Yeah,
I think it's about that ballpark.
Yeah, it should have been The Rock and Triple H because they always had really good feuds back in the day. So instead, they just decided to go with Fruity Pebbles, and yeah, it just wasn't good. The once in a lifetime rip-off.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved. It was actually 2012. I've just checked on my phone. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't get me started on that. Matt Burns is very, very good.
I have no idea what you're on about. I
will be honest, because of the way I got into wrestling. My wrestling knowledge is very poor. Like I watched it during the Attitude Era, but as for being a massive fan of wrestling when I was a kid, that's not the case. Like, I hate the fact of like when I do interviews like this, sometimes I get asked, when did you dream of becoming a pro wrestler? And I'm like, at 26. It wasn't like an age of 12 or anything like that. It was literally when I went to watch the first indie show. So my knowledge is poor. But there's a few guys that I know, that Matt knows as well, like Shane Hardy, people like him, like Gareth Holloway. Their wrestling knowledge knowledge is like down to a T. They can give you literally probably every WWE champion for the last 30 years. It's mental.
Yeah, Mr. Burns is very much like that, and to say we have some disagreements is beyond the true statement.
No, I'll say this to you. With
No,
the
it's
guy,
all.
no, with the guys that Luke just mentioned, I have to put my hands up and just say, nope, they outdo me. They outdo me.
You because they don't use Google, mate.
I
That's
don't
why.
use Google. I don't use Google.
I'm just exactly the same as Luke. You know, I'm coming up for 35, just starting to get into wrestling, but I've been, you know, wanting to become a wrestler since I was about 3-4 years old. But I am not a wrestling nerd.
If I'm not mistaken, you've even got a T-shirt on it.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a T-shirt. You know, it's got my slogan on it. Just a bit of a self-plug there, ladies and gentlemen.
What's next? Buy my, what are you going to be screaming? Buy my merch.
Buy my fucking merch.
I mean, to be fair, like I didn't get into. I got into wrestling by going to watch an independent show. Before that, I hadn't gone to watch any like WWE shows or anything like that. It was literally I'd gone to an independent show. One of my friends was on there at the time, and I looked at this. I went, I think I could do this. I think just over a year later, 2 years later, I was making my debut in wrestling.
When was your debut? Talk us through that.
So my debut was December 13th of December 2015, I believe. No, was it 17? 16? Which one was it? No. We would have celebrated. Yeah, it was 2015 because we celebrated the 5th anniversary for APW last year. So
yeah,
it was literally the first ever APW show. I'd been training just over a year, I think, 2 years, maybe a year and a half, something like that. And APD, it was called the Academy at the time, was ran by someone else. And literally, I remember being offered a place on the show, and I was really excited. And it was actually Joey Sanchez who come up to me and says, "Got some news for you. You're in the main event." And I was just like, "What?" And like, "Yeah, you're in the main event." He said, "It's going to be me versus you in the main event, and we're going to take, we're going to actually make the show ours." And I was like, "Great." When I watch it back now, I think, Jesus Christ, I wasn't ready. But
don't worry. Your mate Kelsey was the same.
It's not just Kelsey; it's also myself.
It just went from there. I've been very fortunate. In probably the five years I've been in wrestling now, I've been lucky enough to become a promoter, which wasn't something that I always thought I'd do. I've been, main evented many shows for the Academy when it first started. I became the champion. I wrestled in Italy. I've wrestled up and down the country. So the last 5 years, other than the last year and a half of injuries, has been pretty much decent.
Yeah, that's a shame that you've, well, obviously, I'm not going to say that it's great that you had your injuries at this time, but it's probably for the best that you've had this much time to rest.
Yeah, I probably agree. I mean, to be fair, it's the one thing I look at with the injury is it's probably done me the world of good as well, because it's kicked me to a point where I know now that I have to put where I want to be. I've always had, I think Matt will agree, I've always had high expectations of myself.
Yeah.
When I get booked somewhere, I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job possible.
Yeah.
whether it be APW, UKWA, FCW, places like that I work regularly, I want to make sure that I'm remembered. And I think at times, that like 90% of the time, I would say that I've delivered that. But is that 10% of me that says, right, you now need to be in better shape, you need to be in the gym, you need to be doing this. And last year, after I had my second injury, that was it. I was focused in the gym. I was in the gym pretty much 5 times a week, probably 6 times, up until October, end of October, sorry. And then they did the second lockdown, which knocked me about a bit, because it was like, well, I've just got in that momentum of going to the gym all the time, and now I'm out of it. But the good thing is I'm at a point again now where I'm like, right, I know where I want to be. We've got a date of when roughly shows are going to start. I want to be ahead. I want to be ahead of everyone else, and I've got that opportunity to do that. I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to do that. So, yeah, injuries happen. There's one thing I always say to people: we're not in. We don't do ballet. It's very dangerous.
Oh, be careful on that subject. We know somebody gets very, very upset about that.
Go on.
No. It's. I actually agree with you. The fact is, it's not something you can just pick up and just go, oh, I'm great at it. You can basically pick up an injury here and there, but then again, you can pick up an injury general life. But the difference is with wrestling, it's we're putting on a performance where we're making it look like we're actually beating the hell out of each other, but it's done in an art form.
I think if there's one thing that really bothers me this day and age is that a lot of people that come into the wrestling business think, oh, it's easy. It's not. I was the same. I was one of these people. Like I told you earlier, I looked at it and I went, I could do this. But it wasn't in the fact that I knew it would be easy to do. It was the fact that I know that I have the mental capability to go, if I put my mind to something, I can do it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's people that come into this business these day and age, and they're like, oh, this is easy. I can do this. And it's not easy. Some people think it's acceptable to have 3 months training and be on shows. That's not the case. You need to be working on this, like whether you want to do this part-time, whether you want to do this full-time, you need to be in the best shape you possibly can be. You need to train at least once a week in a ring, because I can promise you now, if you have 2-3 weeks off after, say, 2 weeks worth of training, you're probably going to forget that 2 weeks of training. A lot of effort has to go into wrestling, and I wish I'm not one to slate people. I'm seeing people taking bookings at the moment and things like that, and I'm thinking, but you haven't been in a ring for over a year. Why? Pace yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we were a bit fortunate, though, isn't it, Matt? Because we had the opportunity to carry on training through the pandemic whilst being in our own support bubble. So we were quite lucky like that, and I know a lot of wrestlers aren't in that sort of predicament.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. APW, when they went through the tier section, because of the location we was able to run training weekly at our old venue. But I just think if you have 2-3 months off, I felt it like when I had my injury. That if you have 2-3 months off, the amount of ring rust around you is unbelievable. I wouldn't trust myself in the ring at the moment, because at the end of the day, it's like you can't just think about yourself at the same time. You have to think about your opponent, because the chances are that if you do something wrong, we're not talking about just injuries. We're talking about potentially killing someone.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what people don't realise. I don't think that aspect is taught to people enough, that they don't realise it. They just think, oh, if I pick someone up and drop him on his back, he'll be fine. But if you drop him on the top of his neck, you're probably doing something, and it doesn't just affect that man or that woman.
Yeah.
It affects their family, it affects everything, and that's just my aspect on the wrestling, how I look at it. And sometimes I look at people and I just think, did any of you play Sunday League football?
Yeah.
My dad.
Right,
My dad.
Yeah, so like on Sunday League football, where you would be ringing your friends like on a Sunday because you've got some friends that haven't turned up. They've absolutely got smashed the night before, so you need to ring a couple of friends to fill in their places.
Yeah.
That is how I believe. That's how I believe some people look at pro wrestling.
Yeah, it is true. There's a certain air of arrogance with some people where they just seem to think that, I can just have a pint of lager and then I'll just have a fag and then I'll go spend about 20 minutes in the ring.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No.
The good thing is, it looks like now we're turning the corner with pro wrestling itself after everything that happened last year as well. It looks like we're turning the corner for more positive things happening in wrestling. I'm dead excited about the future. When I look at some of the guys that that are getting opportunities at the moment. Maybe this sort of attitude maybe will start to disappear. Who knows, over the next couple of years?
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
It's almost like a reset, almost, isn't it? You could say it's almost like a factory reset that we've got, where we can probably get everything back to get it to where in the right direction. One thing I was going to be bringing up as a topic though is like with yourself being a promoter and also with the training school. I know there's been some changes for your training school, hasn't there? As you mentioned.
Yeah. So unfortunately, during this lockdown, Kushinkai Martial Arts Dojo are basically having a small refurbishment to their floor, which means that our ring wouldn't be able to go on there, because if it did, it would damage the floor. So it means that we've had to leave there, and we've been very fortunate enough to find our own new unit, which is great. It's great for the future. The possibilities of it that we can do with it are fantastic. It means that that wrestlers are going to have access to a ring 7 days a week. I'm really excited about it. The issue we have is that at the moment, well, even over the space of the year, even though we've been paying taxes and things like that for just, it might be less than 2 years. I can't exactly remember the date that we went into officially as a business. We're not entitled to any funding. So we're not being able to
that's
any money back or anything like that. So now we're having to run a GoFundMe to help pay for some of the rent and bills for the coming month, which is mental. You think that the government would help out businesses like that?
They have with certain ones. It's more so your local councils, I believe, that help with funding.
I've been in touch with numerous times with our council. I'm very lucky enough that my partner works well, so she can always help me with where I need to go and things like that.
Right. Okay.
But they're very reluctant to put money into a business that may not be here in a year or and a half, and because of probably the shadow that the wrestling business has got on it at the moment. But it is what it is. But I am excited. At the moment the GoFundMe is doing okay. Obviously we're going to push it more and more. If people can help, it's great. If they can't, just a share of the GoFundMe goes a long way. But the support
Yeah,
has been...
I definitely think we'll share that out for you, though. Your link to your GoFundMe page.
I believe that we have already,
that.
and we will be reaching out as well as soon as this, when this has been released. We'll make sure it's followed up with the share out for us as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate it, guys.
Oh, well, we want the wrestling business in the UK to succeed because there is a market in the UK for the wrestling industry. It's just not been utilised properly, whereas overseas it has been.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think APW, if you've Matt will tell you, if you've watched it since it first started, how it's changed and how it's grown, the production of it is probably one of the best in the Midlands.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably blowing my own trumpet and things like that, but that's what I look at. That's what I believe. I believe the guys that we have on there are trained properly. They're not rushed in. We've got guys that are still training, that have been training 2 or 3 years now, that are still training every week. And we've, they've been the same with me. They've been abroad, and they've wrestled there up and down the country. And we like to think that we do things right. We're not perfect, like, no promotion, but we have high standards, and the production value of it is probably one of the things that makes us stand out. We're massive on giving people opportunities as well on shows. I think that a number of people, if they listen to this, or they'll say, yeah, I was one of them. The amount of people we've had just turn up literally to help put up the ring or the equipment that we have, and then they end up on the show is in high numbers. Because that's what I'm about. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity that I was given, and I remember how I felt after doing that first match. So if I can give that to someone else, that's a massive build for me. That's what I want to do. I want to make the wrestling business thrive, especially after the year it's had. And the negativity it constantly gets, and to some understanding, I can understand why it does. But at the same time, I sit there and think the more negativity you get on it, it's just not going to make one people come back. And my objective is that I want people to come back. I want people to get their eyes on not just my business, but on everyone's business. I was planning just before we went into the first lockdown, called APW, where we was going to do an independent wrestling show where we'd asked like 5 independent companies to send a couple of their guys, and we'll showcase them.
Yeah.
The scary thing about it is, I actually remember the name of the title of that event. It was the one that you just mentioned. The one where
why can't I remember it off? It was Independent something.
Independent Invasion.
Independent Invasion. That was it.
No, my. Trust Matt Burns to remember everything like that.
No, the scary thing about it is, the reason why I remember it is because I generally it's something I was massively on board with myself. Yeah. And it's something that the idea of it, I thought was absolutely brilliant. The fact that like you said, it's not just showcasing your own talents; it's also showcasing British wrestling as a whole, which is something that I tend to aim for myself as well. Which is why, with the whole thing with the UK debate, it's something that goes hand in hand really, really well. So it's something, if you ever decided to do that idea again, you full know I'd be on board for that idea.
Oh my God.
I would definitely be looking to do that again at some point. The worst thing about it is I think, if I remember right, we were going to do the show April 4th. I think it was the same weekend as WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And the idea that, we put all this together, and then I did the logo for it, and it turned out to be one of probably the best logos I've ever done. And then literally 3 weeks before, they were like, right, we're going into lockdown. I was just like, I'm not wasting that logo.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody was wondering what I was signed for before, it's not the subject that we're on. It's just the fact that it sounds like Matt Burns is sniffing round for a booking.
No, actually, it's not. It's generally not. It's not genuinely. I'd rather it go to the talents of the workers genuinely, and Luke will know what I mean by that. When I say that,
Dude, do you want me to tell you something? I've still got that tissue if you need it.
will you get lost? No, but Luke will know what I mean by this because for myself, it's something I've always. If I have a choice of pushing UKW talent in myself, I will push the UKW talent. UKW talent, but then again, it's the same with the academy lads. They're all good lads. It's I know they've actually been trained really well because the fact is, I actually have them on UKW as well.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know that. It would have been nice for you to tell me that, Mr. Burns.
No, you do, though. You do use a fair bit of our talent, to be fair, which is great. 'Cause it's always good to see them getting out and about in places. And I'm not saying this because we're on, Burn Truth and things like that, but I do love working UKWA. Some of the laughs that I've had, I've been in a match where old women have ran around the ring.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Going nuts, and I'm at the same time I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but the guys, like I said, guys getting opportunities is a big thing for me. I'm glad to see it, and think you. I remember Kelsey was coming to Independent Invasion. Was there someone else as well that you nominated?
AJ Hughes.
AJ Hughes, that's right, yeah. Another two good talents are, Kelsey. As much as I hate his annoying voice, is probably one of the best talents in the Midlands that probably is underrated as well. But I've been in the ring with him numerous times now, and I've enjoyed every moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's just made me chuckle. His annoying voice.
His voice is the pitch that he can get his voice to is just like no man should be able to do
that. It's one of the reasons why from time to time, whenever I've seen him in the ring, I've said, I think, don't give him a mic.
You don't need a bloody mic. He's like a foghorn.
Well, this is the thing. It's like, but then again, like without that irritating voice, we wouldn't have old women chasing him and Matty Douglas around the ring. And them two, like the one thing I will say is like I hadn't met the young lad Matthew Douglas until I worked UKWA. My God, what a talent he's going to be!
Yeah,
like he has everything, And I remember like when we worked the first show, and he was part of Kelsey's group.
Yeah,
and he was so nervous for the main event because I'd give him 2 spots. And he was so nervous, like he was sweating. He's like, he was panicking just before. I said, look, don't worry. I said, you'll be absolutely fine. Just go with it, and everything. He comes out. Me and Kelsey get the match going. We do a few spots where Matt interferes with us. And literally, that old woman starts chasing him around the ring. And I was just, and I was just like, I said, look, that's your target now. That's, you've got to wind her up. And that's all he did for the rest of the show.
Oh, yeah. He didn't just get the attention of one old woman, though, did he?
No. They were coming left, right, and centre at that point. it's mad when you take a move from someone, quite a big move, and then you look around and there's two old women running around the ring, and you're like, Jesus Christ, how bad was that bump? But no, it was it was like, what is it? What's his wrestling name now? It's been so long, I forgot. Matty Douglas's wrestling name.
Oh, Dougie Matthews.
Dougie Matthews. Well, I can't believe I didn't get it the other way around. Dougie Matthews. If anyone like promote or like look at that guy, I think he's a talent that's going to be really knocking on possibly WWE NXT doors in 4 or 5 years' time.
Yeah, he's one to watch. Definitely. He's definitely one to watch. It's just for me, I was lucky enough to have met him while I was doing a bit of travels in Wales, and that's how I came across him. And it's just by, great opportunities from just seeing him from there. And then it's just led on to more opportunities, which is always good to see on such good young talent as well.
Yeah, like I said, he's got everything and he works hard. Like when wrestling was open to say, he was everywhere. He was up north, he was Wales bound training and things like that. I think I remember booking him for Independent Invasion as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I definitely plan to have him on one of my shows eventually. But yeah, he's definitely one to watch for, and from what I'm being told, he's killing it on the Wales scene as well.
Yeah, he has been, absolutely has been. And you mentioned about the some of the fans, the certain fans that you mentioned. Some of them have actually asked how you are. Have actually been asking
really?
me. They've been genuinely asking me constantly.
That's nice. That's not. It's nice when you're liked, really. I guess. Obviously, I know what happens if you hate it. You get women chasing you. So, I'll tend to try and stick to being liked, I guess.
I've got all this to come. I've got all this to look forward to. I have, and every single time I hear these individual stories, it just makes me laugh. And obviously, I've seen the first show for UKWA that you're talking about, and I was in stitches. I really, really was, because I thought, who's this woman here?
I mean, it's practically happened at every show we've done. Literally, the minute Kelsey and Matty Douglas, Douglas Matthews, the minute they come out, that these old women are on them like a hawk. They genuinely hate these two guys. So I wouldn't like to be in their shoes, put it this way.
That's a good way of putting it. Definitely a good way of putting it. Genuinely, it's just like it's a good way of putting it. Well, one thing I wanted to move on to is the fact that you've got the academy, but you're also a promoter as well. Because you, as you mentioned, you're not just a promoter for one company, are you?
No. 2019, I took over Shropshire Wrestling Alliance as well. So yeah, running 2 promotions, 2 which I would say, again, probably me gloating a bit, are quite successful promotions. By the time this is aired, I'm going to give you guys a bit of an announcement here, even though by the time this goes out, it'll be a week late. We've booked our slots for September 11th, which isn't the greatest date, but it's the only one available for this year for SWA to return. And one of the first names that I've announced is Dean Allmore, that show.
Oh, great talent.
We had a brief talk about it beforehand, and Dean Allmark is someone that every wrestler should want to learn from. Um, we're very fortunate that we'll have a seminar with him, which myself will be taking part in. But he's the start of my target to put Shropshire Wrestling on the map itself. There's plenty of opportunities now for promotions to really step up their game, and that's my plan with SWA, APW. APW is about its homegrown talent, putting them in front of everyone. SWA is about putting the country's best talent on. So I'm really excited, and the fact that now that I've got some dates for SWA sorted, I've now got a target in mind for our first shows back.
See, that sounds really good to me. You've got two promotions that you're going on. For anybody that doesn't know where they're based, would you mind sharing where they are actually based?
So they're based in Telford, in Shropshire. Currently, APW is looking for its new home. We'll be speaking to a few places this week, so we might have some news on that in the coming days. Shropshire Wrestling Alliance is based in Telford again at Dawley Town Hall. It's been home to SWA now for about 5 years, I believe. So we're dead excited on returning on September 11th, and there's going to be a new outlook with some very big names, and the whole idea is, like I said, is to show some of the country's best talents.
It's more or less just, because obviously the centre of England, it's a big area, and it needs somebody to take the reins. And if you're that company to do that, then all fair play to you. That's brilliant.
I mean, that's definitely our objective. I know that the Midlands itself is a big place. We're fortunate enough that in Telford, I think that the closest places to us are like Wolverhampton for other shows. So that's still like 15, 20 minutes away from us. So that's obviously a big place. Then there's numerous promotions in Wolverhampton that are still coming up and things like that. I would say probably the biggest one is Kamikaze. They have some incredible talent. Some guys that we use from there as well. Some guys train with us as well. I think they're possibly the one to lead the way, maybe in the Midlands, but I'll be definitely there trying the best I can to offer the best talent. Like I said, in the coming weeks, you're going to see the SWA roster announced. I've announced, by the time this would come out, I would have announced Dean Allmark. And we've got some other big names up our sleeves as well. Some names that you might not know, but are incredibly well-known talent that should probably be out there more, which I'm excited to see what they bring to SWA as well.
That's pretty good. Hey, guess what, Matt Burns? He's showing you up here. He's showing you up. Yeah, you haven't even got anything planned, have you?
Oh, we've got some plans. We've actually got some plans. Just keeping them a little bit closer to the chest. Got some nice little twists and turns of our own as well. But at the same time, between ourselves, we're not one that is looking at it as a competing force, because we're both in support of British wrestling as a whole. So we want to be successful as much as possible. And that's how I've always seen it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want just like Shropshire wrestling to thrive. I want like British wrestling to thrive, because at the end of the day, it means if British wrestling is thriving, it means more work for everyone. The outcome, as much as people don't like talking about it, the outcome is that everyone earns enough money to do what they love. And obviously, if British wrestling is thriving, then there's more money in it for everyone. That's why I'm always a big guy when I say to people, look, when I've worked for them, if you book me for so many shows, I promise I'll deliver on this, this, and this. You know, and I've been fortunate enough now where I'm working at a few places quite regular, and then dotting about myself up and down the country in other places. So I'm hoping, like, when British wrestling does come back, people will be eager to see it just as much as they was before.
That's it. It sounds good to me. That does. Sounds like a good plan.
It does sound, that does definitely sound like a good plan. Definitely. One thing I will say is, with the, have you got any funny stories recently compared from the last time we did the interview,
Oh,
or any happy memories that you can think of?
I've just like I said, I've enjoyed the last 5 years just with everything in wrestling. I think it's been such a boom. As much as some people are very negative towards WWE NXT because they're poaching some of the top guys and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still great to see that these guys are getting their opportunities.
Yeah.
We've never said anything bad about WWE, have we?
Like I said, I've been very fortunate to wrestle in Italy a couple of times. And there's some great talent.
What was that like? Because I've heard some people that have wrestled in Germany and in Spain. But Italy, how's it over there?
So I would say that Italy is probably the hidden gem of Europe's wrestling. Because some of the wrestlers that I've met out there are incredible. And when I say they would wipe the floor of most of British wrestlers, that's probably still an understatement. There's a lad over there called Nick Lenders. He's been over here a handful of times. But I'm going to be in contact with him probably, when there's relaxation on traveling over here and things like that, because I really want to put him in the spotlight of well-known people in the wrestling industry, because he is a hell of a talent. It surprised me massively going over there, because when we got booked, I expected the talent to be not as good as I thought they would be, because of the fact that you don't think it reaches Italy. I don't know why I thought that. Probably my own arrogance, maybe thinking that. I don't know.
But you look at Italy and you think football, don't you? You think football,
exactly.
Because they love football.
Yeah, and it's just, I didn't think wrestling was as big out there, but my God, some of the talent out there is unreal. I've been fortunate to wrestle against a few of them. There's a friend of mine who's from Italy who's now working and living in Japan, and he is under the wing of a very well-known Japanese wrestler from WWE, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He's the one that used to spit the green mist out.
Oh, Tajiri.
Tajiri, yeah. He is now under his wing, which is absolutely mental.
But that's a claim to fame.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's not what I expected. Matt will know that my friends Connors and Black did very well over there.
Great talent.
And we have been very fortunate to go over there a handful of times now. And I'm hoping, once wrestling's back and travel bans are all down and things like that, I'll be able to head over there again. But if not, I'm definitely open to really showing some of the talent over here. Over there, over here. So, there's a company called ICW, Italian Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
I definitely have a look at some of their stuff. I think a lot of their stuff is free on YouTube. But I would check some of their stuff out because their talent is just absolutely amazing.
So that would lead me to my next question, because obviously you just mentioned Tajiri. Is there anybody that a big name that anybody would recognise that you have actually had the chance to wrestle?
I would say probably the biggest names that I've wrestled are probably Rampage and Martin Kirby. They're probably the biggest names that I've wrestled. I've wrestled against people like, Chris Bridgeway. A lot of the well-known guys in British wrestling, Ridgeway, Hustle Malone, guys like that. I've wrestled a couple of times now. But I'd say probably Rampage is probably the biggest name. Yeah, we've had quite a few guys come over from America, things like that at APW. But usually when I've booked them for other guys. Which sometimes you like, when you're the promoter, you just think, stuff it, I should just book them for me. But you can't really do that.
You're not supposed to, are you, Matt Baines?
I never have. And I
I'm
never
not
will.
on about you. You know what I'm on about.
Behave.
So I've been fortunate to work with some of them guys. Who knows what the future holds? And like I said, I'm hoping that I'll be able to add names to that list. But I will say this right now, that Rampage is one of the most terrifying guys you'll ever be opposite in a ring against.
Yeah, I can sympathise with that one because I've actually met the guy, and the man is built. He just looks. He's like a He's like a walking death machine.
The thing is though as well is like he is so nice.
Yeah.
Like genuinely so nice. He I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous backstage for the match, and he just came up to me and said, "Look," he said, "if you forget anything or you're worried about anything, just go to the corner and I'll come over and we'll sort it." And I was just like, wow. I was like, for a guy that's wrestled probably some of the biggest names in the world to say that to me, I thought, he didn't have to be like that. He could have been arrogant about it. He could have been, but he wasn't. He was terrific, and it turned out to be one of my best matches. Unfortunately, I haven't got the footage for it though.
Oh,
well, that's a gutter because it sounded interesting.
It was probably one of my favourite matches. It was my first match back from for APW from my collarbone as well. But it was a great match. Martin Kirby, again, I've worked with numerous times with now, like having him at APW and things like that. And again, he's just generally one of the nicest guys in wrestling. I was absolutely gutted to hear that he was retiring last year, I think it was, after his work in Japan. Who knows? Maybe he may consider coming back. If he does, then I'll definitely be knocking on his door.
You're not the only one.
But I've been very fortunate to wrestle some talented guys, like I said, here in Italy as well.
But not to Tatanka, though.
Not to Tatanka, no.
No, one thing I will say is, with you mentioning about people who you want to be up against, I'm pretty sure that you've got like a bit of a list, haven't you? Have you got like anybody who's on your list you haven't faced yet, but want to?
I did put. You put me on the spot now because I did put a list out last year, I believe, of guys that I'd love to wrestle. Are
you like me? Your memory's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it's probably because I haven't thought about it recently. I'm more at the moment. My head is more in like
your promotion.
I want to get shows up and running.
Yeah.
Chuck Cyrus is probably one of them that I'd like to wrestle. I'll look at the roster.
It could be near enough anybody. It doesn't have to be from your roster. It could be anybody.
Just trying to think up and down the country. Chris Brooks would be an interesting one, I think. He's over in Japan now. Thing is, this is the mentality of like some people where, when they've been in the the one thing they've always wanted to be as a kid was a wrestler. So that in their head they've got names left, right, and centre that they can tell you who they want to wrestle. I'm not like that. I'm just more like, I find out who certain guys are.
Yeah.
I've learned over, some great names. I'm more bothered on like who I want to wrestle on the independent scene.
Yeah.
We've got Dean Allmark coming to SWA. Would I be interested in wrestling him? Absolutely. Because like I said, I think he's one of probably the best talents in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley Dunn, I've done a little bit of work with, but I've never had a one-to-one match with him.
Yeah.
And I think we would do something quite well because when we've talked, we've got the same mentality about wrestling. So I think like we'd produce something pretty good. I could go on with just like spewing guys that haven't wrestled that I'd want to. I can't really say there's any like. Maybe if a dream match for me would be Okada.
No, accepted.
That's accepted. Yeah,
definitely.
I just look at that and I think like because he's a well-built guy, I'm a stocky guy. It could be something interesting. Obviously, the big one, like the guy who's probably my favourite wrestler at the moment, and say that he's probably been the favourite wrestler for a few years now, is Kenny Omega. I just don't think there's anyone that can touch him at the moment, as in like in ring and things like that. I think he is so good as a cocky heel as well. Like when he was in charge of Bullet Club and things like that, and the stuff he's doing with AEW at the moment. It's like I said, they would probably be the biggest dream guys if I could wrestle anyone.
No. Generally, when I mentioned that to you, just it was like it did, was to include like some of your dream matches as well.
Definitely. I mean, I look at it and I look at AEW's roster and I just go, "Oh, I'd love having a match with Darby Allin."
Yeah, I think with Darby, he's one of the craziest wrestlers I've ever seen. Some of the stuff he does is just absolutely mad.
Yeah.
It's probably some, I did some crazy stuff when I first started wrestling. Stuff that I'd probably look at myself now and go, maybe don't do that as much now.
But, being somebody who had to call one of them moments, I'll never forget. Some of them.
Which one was it? Which one, Matt?
For me, would be the infamous one where with the spear. He almost did like a WrestleMania remake of Edge and Mick Foley.
Yeah,
just minus on fire table.
We were fortunate enough the other day to actually be talking about that with CJ, and that is probably the most painful thing I've ever done. A lot of people say to me, because like most people have seen Edge be Mick Foley, right?
Yeah.
So when people that haven't seen it, they go, what was it like? Was it like this? Was it like Edge and Mick Foley? And I'm like, no, because when Edge, speared Mick Foley, he dived out the ring, and they pretty much landed square foot in front of them, straight down. And they say, well, how would you describe yours? And I said, well, the only way I can really describe mine is like when you play Angry Birds. It's like to describe it would be like when you slingshot one of the birds out, they don't just fall down on the floor, they literally fly. And I remember like just before we were about to do this spot, I looked and I saw the tables on the floor and I was like, Christ, they're further away than I thought. And I just remember
we were saying the same thing.
Yeah, I was looking at. I hit the back rope, and I'm like, we're gonna have to fly here, and we did. We flew. We flew like a good 3-4 foot away from the ring before landing on 2 tables, which we nearly overshot. So, yeah, when we landed, to say that sucked would be an understatement.
See, I'm one of them stupid people that used to do backyard wrestling, just having a tickle with your friends and what have you. So yeah, I know what it's like to be put through a table.
I don't think backyard wrestling is stupid, believe it or not, because I've got a couple of friends that were heavily into it. You know, I've had people state mine, people like Chuck Cyrus, Ashley Dunn, Kelly Six, and things like that, and they've all been backyard wrestling. All 3 of them have one big thing in common: who they're friends with, and that would be Will Ospreay. And they show me videos of them wrestling in the back garden with Will Ospreay, and I sit down and I'm just like, how the hell are you guys alive? Like, it is. Some of the bumps I've seen them take is just shouldn't be. They shouldn't be here. But yeah, I've done like in a short space of time, I've done quite a lot of no DQ matches. You know, things like I've done 2 cage matches. I've done a last man standing match, a no DQ match.
Casket match, yeah. I've done a 3-on-3 no disqualification match, which was just absolutely mental. To the point where I dived off the balcony. I was suplexed onto a chair. No, sorry, suplexed onto a ladder. And then we did the table spot. For me, I'll never forget that table spot because, like you said, we were like, is he going to reach it? Is he going to reach it? And then as soon as you hit and you took off, he's like, is he going to go too far?
We saw, like, we get, there's someone who, I can't really say who it is. CJ Connors always puts it up every year, like, as an anniversary thing, where someone is in a perfect spot in the fans where they've recorded it, and it just looks so devastating. I remember we showed it to, what was his name now? We showed it to, oh my god, my head's going blank. A British legend, Doug. Oh, what's his name now? Doug something. British wrestling legend. He worked on TNA, places like that.
Come on, Matt Burns, you're trivia king here.
Doug Williams, yes, Doug Williams. We showed the videos to Doug Williams, and Doug Williams just looked at it like it's the worst thing he'd ever seen. It's like, like in so much disgust in his face. And then me and CJ just looked at each other and went, "Yeah, we won't do that again."
Yeah, I just remember calling it, and it was almost one of them. You basically, I couldn't. My voice couldn't go high enough for how much of an impact it was.
Yeah, it was very. I can tell you now, it was very impactful. Like to the point, like where I think I chipped my elbow. But I think the one thing I'll always take away from it more than anything is that we had about, I think, 7 "This is awesome" chants.
Yeah.
So in the end, that made it totally worth it.
Chipped elbow.
Yeah.
Better not tell our mate that, had you? Because he won't be able to tell the difference between his elbow and his shoulder. Just to make this aware, if he ever listens to this, love you.
Oh, but genuinely, it's straight away, I'd say I think that's about a good time to possibly wrap up. But I'd say about now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I could agree with that. Are you good with that?
You happy with that?
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
But before we even consider leaving or anything, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I just want to shout out to all the APW guys. Thank you to everyone that supported us through, the pandemic with, the GoFundMe and things like that. It's a massive understatement to say that I'm overwhelmed by it. I think most people will agree that the last 5 years I've made wrestling my life, and I work hard to hopefully get enough respect and to show the respect to other people. And I look forward to the wrestling business. I guess I better say a shout out to my lovely girlfriend Jessie. Otherwise, I might be in a complicated status on Facebook.
Yeah, I was just about to say, don't do what a certain Jack Knudsen did and upset his other half.
Without her, I guess that APW wouldn't have some of the stuff it's recently procured, and her support is unfathomable as well. What a word.
No.
I was just about to say that is a tongue twister. I can't even say that. I'm not even going to attempt it.
No, good word. And where can people find you on across social media and everything?
Yeah, you can find me on all social media, including the dreadful Twitter. You can find me on there under Luke Basham. Though if I ever get enough money, my one plan is to shut down Twitter for life. I absolutely hate the place.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same. I hate the place. So I might actually try and raise some money with you there just to get it shut down.
But yeah, I'm on all social medias, even YouTube as well. I'm hoping that in the coming weeks I'll be bringing back Outside the Ropes, maybe.
Good series.
I was enjoying doing them things up until we had the speaking out last year, and it really put a damper on wrestling itself and my thoughts on wrestling.
Yeah.
But now it's looking like things are going in a positive way. So who knows? I might bring that back in the coming weeks.
Well, when you do, we'll always be here ready to share it out for you. Genuinely, because it's always been a good series to check out.
Massively appreciated.
Always been a good series to check out. I also know you've got like your own merchandise and everything as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've probably got no merch ready at the moment. I think, like I said,
it's on hold.
It's on hold. It's mainly for the fact that obviously a lot of people are struggling at the moment. Themselves. It'd be unfair for me to keep constantly asking people to buy my shirts when jobs are going out of out the window, left, right, and centre. But when things do open, buy my merch.
Yeah, there you go. He said the line.
He said the line.
Buy his fucking merch.
No, as much as when we've joked about it and we say it, we just do it as if you want to support us, but with the Burning Truth. But we'll regardless of support or not, we're always going to be pushing the Burning Truth and everything as well, which is what we're both me and Irvine have always said as well. But genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
No, that's much appreciated, man. It's been a long time since we had a chat as well, so it was definitely worth a little catch up, I guess.
Yeah, it has, and you've also got to meet me co-host Irvine, the troublemaker.
How dare you? How very dare you?
I look forward to meeting you at the future UKWA shows.
Oh, you will. You'll not have a choice, unfortunately.
Oh, I will say he's certainly a character.
Fuck you.
Well, that's what
Ian.
wrestling's about, isn't it?
Oh, it is. That's what I'm saying. That's why I was paying him a compliment.
No, he's not. He's basically trying to say I'm an arse.
No, actually, I do generally think you're, good worker who's been training hard.
Oh,
Well,
friend.
I mean, the way this is going, you could just do what Piers Morgan did this morning and walk off.
Yeah. I am done with this shit. I am gone.
No, but yeah,
And
genuinely.
as I've just said that, I'm now reading he's quit. So
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. But yeah, genuinely, thank you very much for being on the show. Generally, it's been emotional and everything, as I've always said, usually at the end of the episode. But thanks everybody who's been listening to this episode as well. We look forward to seeing you on future Burning Truth interviews, or if necessary, check us out on the Burning Truth broadcast every Sunday. But genuinely, thank you very much. I've been Matt Burns.
I've been James Irvine.
And we've had Luke Basham on this episode. Thank you very much, Luke.
no worries. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Catch you later.